everyone, so today I'm going to do my April wrap up. I know it's a little bit late, but we're just going to deal with that. I only read 3 books in April, and I'm going to start off with the one I finished last just because I don't actually have the copy of that one because I loaned it out to a friend, and that is The Sky's Everywhere by Jandy Nelson. All I really remember feeling after reading that book was this, I don't know, like, it was quite an emotional book in the sense because the main character Lenny is dealing with her sister's death, but at the same time she's like falling in love. There's a bit of a, not so much a love triangle, but you know, there's 2 boys and her and she's like, oh my god. But I'm gonna say I did not like Lenny. Like, I mean, as a character she's great, but as a person I'd be so annoyed if I knew her. I mean, just the things she does, like I was reading this book and I got so frustrated with her, but you know, she wants to do things like that, she can. But I definitely felt from The Sky's Everywhere I did learn something. Like, I feel I now understand what it's like, because I'm an only child, so you know, I mean, granted, if I had a sibling I couldn't imagine what it would be like if they weren't here, but you know, it's even harder to imagine life without a sibling when you already don't have one. So reading it I kind of got a sense what it's like to have a sibling and also understand how it feels to lose someone close to you. But yeah, it was a really good book. I really don't know what to say, I'm sorry. The second book I finished reading in April was Did I Mention I Love You by Estelle Mascom. Now this book here is actually a proof copy because the paperback isn't out until the 1st of July in Britain. I don't know about anywhere else yet. I'm not going to talk too much about these books, I'm going to do a separate video on it fairly soon. It came out an ebook at some point recently and it pretty much shot straight to like #1 in young adult books, I think on iBooks. I'm not sure about Amazon, but you know. It's also this, like, Estelle first wrote this like 3-4 years ago and put it on Wattpad, so it had a massive reading from there. Like I remember when this first came out, like reading it, and it's quite weird when you're reading it and there's things that are different. The reason I have this is because I met up with Estelle when she was in Edinburgh and she gave me a proof copy and I absolutely am obsessed with it. As I say, I'll do a separate video on this doing like a proper sort of detailed thing about it later. But if you're into your sort of young adult, boy girl sort of fall in love kind of thing, definitely pick this up when it comes out on shelves because I think you should buy it. The third and final book I read in April was The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out of the Window and Disappeared by Jonas Jonasson. This book is actually on loan to me from my boyfriend and he gave me it in about March time. Still haven't given him it back. Mostly because the main character, Alan Carlson, the 100-Year-Old Man, he just has a bit of a special place in my heart. Like I was reading the book and I got to about the last sort of 100 pages and I couldn't finish it because I didn't want Alan and his story to end. Because the way the book is written, like it starts out in 2005, that's the present day, when Alan disappears on his 100th birthday. But the chapters sometimes, like, they jump, so it has like not so much flashbacks, but you know, I don't know, like, yeah, it starts in 1905, so the year Alan was born. So like, if it's not in the present day dealing with what Alan's up to when he's disappeared or what the police are doing when they're trying to find him, it goes in chronological order from like when he was born, etc. At first I admit it was annoying. I was like, I don't really care that he used to make bombs in his back garden, like dynamite or whatever. You know, I'd be like, just get on with the fact he's disappeared. But as I got more into it, Alan's life is ridiculous. I mean, I just feel like Alan is one of those characters that you can sort of think, oh, that would be such and such. And you can just imagine someone sitting around the table at Christmas dinner and be like, oh, remember that time I met the President of France? And you'd be like, no, you never. But Alan did. I love the ending, I love the way it all ravels up and all these unlikely, like, friends become friends. I don't know what's the phrase I'm looking for. Whoa! I adore this book and I think it's great because, I mean, I'm only 18, but it just showed me, like, as the back says, you're never too old for an adventure. Right. I've decided I'm now also going to do my May TBR, which is rather long. The first book that is on my TBR for May is Forever by Judy Blume. Judy was my absolute favourite author as a kid. I loved the Tales of Fourth Grade Nothing series. I haven't started this one yet because I've got another I've got another 4 on my pile, whoops. I think 3 of which I've properly started. So this book basically is about, it says at the bottom, it's a classic novel of first love, first sex and first heartbreak. So it's basically a girl falls in love with a boy and for the first time and finds out all about it. Sounds really interesting, and I think this was a newly published like design of it. I'm so excited because they look really pretty, and that's pretty much why I want it. The other book that I've not really started yet, but I've read the first page actually of this one, is Junk by Melvin Burgess. Basically, this book is about a group of teenagers, I think it's in Bristol it's set, who have a heroin addiction, so they do drugs. And like, I know that there's like 2 main characters, Gemma and Tar, and I think Tar likes Gemma but Gemma doesn't. I can't really tell what is going to happen in this book. It is pretty much about the drugs. I don't know what the sort of plot line of it is. I just know it's centred around a group of Bristolian teenagers with a drug addiction. Number 3 is All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. I bought this book back in December when it first came into work because I thought it sounded amazing. You know, like, I don't know, it was just the fact that it dealt with, you know, someone who wanted to kill themselves and another person grieving a sister. So yeah, basically you've got Finch and Violet's lost her sister and she's grieving and stuff. And Finch just is suicidal, depressed. It is a gorgeous cover. I need to read it. I've started that, I've got about 70 pages in, but I stopped for one reason and one reason only. That reason is City of Bones. Oh, Cassandra Clare. What have you done? I am not a sci-fi fantasy fan in any shape or form. I mean, okay, I like Harry Potter, but, you know, your typical sort of... I used to read things like, I loved the Shiver series and the Fallen series when I was like younger, so they're quite sort of sci-fi fantasy-esque. But right now, I'm definitely more sort of your typical YA contemporary boy-girl fall in love sort of novel. My colleague at work, Courtney, really likes this Mortal Instruments series, and we decided to swap books to each other. So she gave me the first 3 books in the series. She gave me it with a warning of the first book is slow, it took me forever to read, just force yourself through it and then enjoy the rest. How wrong was she? This book is amazing. Like, I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I can't describe, like, I don't know what it is, it's just going so fast for me. It had me going from the very start, which I never get with books. I normally have to force myself to read the first couple chapters until something actually starts to happen. With this I didn't, probably because things did happen in the first chapter, but you know. I'm over halfway through it already, I'm at chapter 14, so that's in part 2. I only started reading this about 2 days ago. In July, I think it's the 2nd of July, in Britain anyway, I don't know if it's America, they're getting the most gorgeous covers. Like the first one, City of Bones, is like a sort of purple and then it's like the runes on the front. Oh, they're beautiful and I can't wait, I'm going to have to buy all of them. So the thing is, if I get obsessed with this, I might have to read the other 2 this month before I read any of my other TBR books, but I'm not complaining because this is the fastest I've got through a book besides Did I Mention I Love You, which took me about 9 hours. So excited to finish this, and I'm gonna put this down now so I can finish the video quickly, edit it and get reading again. The final book that is on my May TBR is only in it because Bloomsbury, the publishers, were kind enough to send me this, Anyone But Ivy Pocket by Caleb Crisp. Now this book is in the 9 to 12 section at my work, so it's a kids book. And basically it is set in, I think it's like the 1800s, something, you know. I mean, look at the clothes she's wearing. She's an old, like, sort of servant girl. She's 12 years old. She thinks she is the best maid on the planet, and she's awful. It annoys me how awful she is, like, just the things she does, and she's like people, like, go, oh, are you Ivy Pocket? And she's like, and in her head, she's all like, oh yes, they know me because I'm amazing, and it's like, no, you're crap. And this Duchess that's old, fat and dying calls her into her room and gives her this clock diamond, which she needs delivered to a family friend's like an ancient friend of hers from years ago that she had a falling out with over a boy. She wants to give her great granddaughter this clock diamond as a present, but this thing's like magical and it can see the future and the past and everything and what's happening right now. And there's a lot of people out to get it. She entrusts Ivy with it because she thinks, you know, nobody's going to suspect this idiot, basically. But Ivy's a bit daft because the Duchess gets murdered and gives her £10 and puts her on the Britannia over to London. And while she's on the boat, her neighbour, like, basically Miss Always, like, tries to befriend her. And Ivy's all like, oh yes, look at this clock diamond I have, blah 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 blah. And it's very obvious to the reader that Miss Always, well to me anyway, I don't know about kids, but Miss Always is not a good person. You know, she should not be telling Miss Always these things. And when she gets over to London, there's, what's the word I'm looking for? The Duchess's lawyer is there and he's like, oh, does anybody know about this diamond? And, you know, in her head she's going, I didn't tell about Miss Always because Miss Always is lovely. And it's like, no. I mean, I'm not that far into it. I'm about, like, yay much into it. But I'm so glad Bloomsbury sent me this because it is really funny. I know I would have loved this as a kid. It is a really great book and I'm kind of sad that this wasn't out when I was a kid because 10-year-old me would have been sitting in class under the table, like, reading it. I have to show you the back as well. I don't know why, but I just love this back cover. I love the contrast of Ivy being like all navy with the colour around here. If I had a TARDIS, I'd go back in time and pick, like, I'd take this with me, post it through my letterbox and let 10-year-old me read this because she would have loved it. If you have any 9 to 12-year-olds going around, or indeed if you're older and you want a bit of a, like, an easy, fun read, definitely go and pick this up. It is a hardback, but it's nice and small. So okay, so that was my April wrap up and my May TBR. I will hopefully leave some reviews, like, for any of the books that I do finish this month. And as I said, I will be talking about Estelle Mascombe's book, Did I Mention I Love You, in a separate video a bit later on. I don't like the whole call to action thing, but you know, if you like this video, thumbs it up, leave comments and subscribe to me. So yeah, I'm gonna leave now. Bye!